Tonight, some new insights on the Sons of Confederate Veterans. That's the group that lobbied Virginia's governor to name April Confederate History Month in the state. They're known for Civil War reenactments and cleaning up Confederate grave sites across the South. But in recent years, critics say they've been taken over by extremists, some of whom are aligned with racist groups. In fact, the Southern Poverty Law Center says the Sons of Confederate Veterans has been infiltrated by members of hate groups. Joe Johns has an up-close look.
The Sons of Confederate Veterans claims about 30,000 members, some of whom celebrate the assassination of Abraham Lincoln and salute the Confederate battle flag at meetings. And while many, especially African Americans, view the pre-Civil War era as a time of strife and servitude, Sons of Confederate Veterans focuses more on the gone with the wind aspects of the story. Its members view the Civil War as the lost cause.
The lost cause is a mythology created by white Southerners in the aftermath of the Civil War, after they lost, to rewrite the idea that slavery wasn't the main cause of the war.
In fact, on its website, the group describes its mission as defending the heroes who fought for liberty and freedom in what it called the Second American Revolution. In recent years, they've gotten more politically active. In the last election, a writer in the group's magazine sized up Barack Obama. I believe that his rhetoric and anti-white legislative proposals would stir up racial riots that would seriously damage race relations in America. Still, they have not been implicated in any acts of violence or terrorism. So is Sons of Confederate Veterans a hate group? The answer is no. Even its biggest critic, the Southern Poverty Law Center, which closely watches hate groups, says no.
But we have been monitoring the group for a very long time because the organization is shot through with members of hate groups like the Council of Conservative Citizens and the League of the South. These are white supremacist groups.
Gilbert Jones can speak to that. He says the group is going through its own civil war between moderates and extremists. Jones was a member of Sons of Confederate Veterans but left because he says it got too political.
I don't believe that it's a hate group at this point. I believe there are people in there who qualify as members of a hate group. I've met some fine people with the SCV, and I've met some scum. Unfortunately, the scum, like I said, tends to be more active in the group.
Among the group's most prominent members is this man, Kirk Lyons, a lawyer who got married in the Aryan Nations compound and who has defended racists and white supremacists. He told us in a statement he no longer defends extremists, that his work for the last 15 years has been thoroughly conventional and mainstream. But the Southern Poverty Law Center disagrees.
He's on record being against things like race mixing. So, we'll quit calling Kirk Lyons a white supremacist when he stops being a white supremacist.
That's a charge Lyons denies. But if Sons of Confederate Veterans isn't a hate group, what is it?
We're a veterans organization, much like any other veterans organization. The difference being that with the American Legion or the Veterans of Foreign Wars, there's always going to be a new generation of veterans coming along to take care of the older veterans. There would never again be any Confederate veterans. So the Confederate veterans turned over their sons.
And now, by helping to stir racial controversy in Virginia, the group has crossed the line from caretaker of the Confederate legacy to culture warrior. Joe Johns, CNN, Washington.
We stand for the white race against all of our enemies, particularly the Jew, and all of these symbols represent that enemy. And we consign them to these flames tonight. May God make it so. Hail victory! Hail victory! Hail victory!
The state leader of the Sons of Confederate Veterans is Kevin Stone, seen here posing with Silent Sam. He's a state probation officer in Chatham County. We asked Stone about the accusation that the Sons of Confederate Veterans is a white supremacist group. His response was, quote, no comment.
I am Kirk David Lyons, Chief Trial Counsel of the Southern Legal Resource Center, Incorporated. Every single week, the Southern Legal Resource Center receives letters from across this great land of ours, from people of Southern ancestry who complain of being discriminated against, harassed, humiliated, terminated from employment, their children suspended from schools simply because they are proud of their Confederate ancestry.
Quick question. You're Kirk Lyons, correct?
I am.
Are you the same Kirk Lyons that the Southern Poverty Law Center calls a white supremacist?
I am that one, and let me tell you why. I'm a so-called white supremacist. Why does a so-called white supremacist have to school you people on basic civics and decency and what art desecration is?
I don't think that
the law is. You look at the law at the time that was given, and so that's what we have to operate on.
we don't need to argue this. The statues are gone. Like,
well,
it's
they'll
done.
be back.
As the Nazi movement successfully exploited the freedom of speech, another basic freedom contained in the First Amendment was being used to propagate Nazism. Freedom of religion became the new Nazi ally. And no one used it better than Pastor Richard Butler, the late spiritual leader of the neo-Nazi movement. Before his death in 2004, Pastor Butler warned America of an upcoming ethnic cleansing.
The 4th of July represents the Declaration of Independence, written by white Aryan Christian men, for white Aryan Christian men, and to obey the law of God of white Aryan Christian men. It doesn't belong to anybody else.
Before its destruction in 2001, Nazis, Klansmen, and racists from all walks of life gathered during 4th of July weekends at the Aryan Nations compound in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Those within the Aryan Nation referred to the complex as the Church of Jesus Christ Christian. For 3 days, a melding of the teachings of Jesus Christ and Adolf Hitler inspired and united the faithful. This was once the Mecca of the Nazi movement in America at the start of the 21st century. The man that oversaw the festivities was a grandfatherly spiritualist, the late Pastor Richard Butler.
We are a kindred coming together. The very elect is being brought together. And we will then fight under one banner, the banner of Jesus Christ, and who is the Führer, if you want, the leader of all white Aryan people.
Aryan Nations while its technical term is the Church of Jesus Christ Christians / Aryan Nations, believes that Adolf Hitler was a biblical prophet of God, upholds the Third Reich as being the example of God's kingdom here on earth.
Pastor Butler's message was based on his interpretation of the Bible. Aryans are the true ancient Israelites. Jews descend from Satan. Non-whites are mud people, and America is the New Jerusalem, where the children of light will destroy the children of Satan.
When we bring the scum of the earth into our family, then of course we have problems. We have territorial problems and everything else. This is what causes hatred. So the only way you can stop the hate and stop the dissension is to separate. That's what the law of God tells you.
Spreading Butler's message were his dedicated followers. Some embraced his ideals without conflict, while others had to overcome the odd coupling of Nazism and Christianity.
My religion taught that it was all right to exterminate Jewish people. It was all right to exterminate people of color. Once it became a public spokesman for Aryan nations, that wearing a swastika and wearing a Nazi uniform and coming into the community, a wall would come up immediately. So I would wear the Aryan nations uniform and carry a Bible. The wall would come down immediately because we don't associate the Bible as an instrument or a symbol of hate.
White power. Perhaps the most important offering of Butler's church was the sense of family, brothers and sisters all together for one cause, in an atmosphere of Nazi camaraderie.
Here were people who thought like I did and dressed like I did, and it was all right to walk around with a t-shirt that said white power. No one was going to attack me. It felt like home. It gave me a sense of belonging.
Our people is right here. These are our brothers and sisters.
And this is our uniform right here, the skin of my people, and that's white power.
White power! White power! White power!
But there have been numerous times that the flock ventured beyond mere camaraderie. Before it was raised in 2001, the Aryan Nation compound had been a sacred stop for those in the Nazi movement. Every member of the order passed through the Aryan Gate at one time or another, and dozens of racist attacks and bombings have been attributed to the well-trained Aryan Nation members.
The adult leadership are recruiting young kids, pumping their head full of neo-Nazi ideas, pointing out their supposed enemies, and knowing that somewhere along the line those kids will go out and put that into action, and it will be the kids who go to jail, while the propagandists and the politicians sit back and rub their hands together and basically say, I didn't tell them to do that.
Individuals have gone through the Aryan Nations compound and gone out and probably committed horrible racist crimes with the idea that Richard Butler would think that they were really making a sacrifice for the white race.
For the Aryan Nation, the race war is an ongoing battle that won't end until the final solution is complete.
The white race is at war. Jesus Christ said you're either for it or you're against it. The war is directed at every white man, woman, and child in America. I think there's going to be a greatest ethnic cleansing that ever existed. We're saying that one day there will be no more Jews, ever, on the face of this planet.
Welcome to our microphones, Kirk Lyons of the Southern Legal Resource Center.
Pleased to be here.
Thank you, Mr. Lyons. Thank you for coming on. You're doing something very interesting. What is the Southern Legal Resource Center exactly?
We're a non-profit legal advocacy group that advocates on behalf of the Confederate community. We're kind of like an ACLU for the Confederate community.
It's also written that you were married at the neo-Nazi Aryan Nations compound.
Hold on, Mr. Combe. Now, if you want to make this an attack on me, that's fine. We're supposed to be talking about
I understand, but I want to
Southern America.
I want to understand.
You're trying to just.
I want to understand where you're coming from.
Yes, I was married there, and so now you're attacking my family. Why?
I don't think asking you where you were married is attacking your family.
That's exactly what you're trying to do. So why don't you ask me about what I'm here for, not about something that happened?
Because I
can tell you all about my marriage and my 7 beautiful kids.
I didn't ask you about that. I asked you if you were married at the Aryan Nations.
And I was. And I could have said I was.
Why are you so defensive about it?
The right has no monopoly on bigotry and intolerance. The left seems to
since
control most
since
of it.
you acknowledged where you got married, what was your opinion of Richard Butler?
He's dead.
Well, we know that. What's your opinion of him?
It has nothing. He's not a Confederate Southern American. He was born in Colorado.
Was he a good guy? He did good work? You liked him?
It has nothing to do. What I think of Richard Butler, he's dead. I am not an identity Christian. I am a Bible-believing, evangelical Presbyterian. It has nothing to do. My wife is an evangelical Presbyterian. My children are being raised in the Presbyterian faith. They are Bible-believing Christians. We see the Confederate flag as Confederate Southern Americans as a venerated symbol of our Christian religious faith.
And to our supporters in North Carolina, I'd like to let you know that Kevin Stone, the North Carolina Division SCV commander, is a Chatham County probation officer, and the left has begun a doxing campaign against Commander Stone to convince his employer to fire him over his, quote, Confederate ties, unquote. If this thuggish tactic is successful, this will set a terrible precedent for all members of the Confederate community. We stand behind Commander Stone, and we urge the North Carolina Division and the National Sons of Confederate Veterans to do all in their power, including the use of legal resources, to protect Commander Stone in his employment.
Right now on WRAL, some tough questions for a probation officer tonight. Critics say he should be off the job for his questionable connections to a Confederate group. We're glad you're with us tonight. I'm Catherine Brown.
And I'm Gerald Owens. This controversy started to unfold after photos from Confederate events surfaced online. WRAL's Adam Owens is live in Raleigh to tell us how his bosses are responding. Adam?
Concerned citizens say those ties to a Confederate group hurt the probation officer's ability to be fair and impartial.
If you can't be impartial in how you do your job, then, that we have a real problem.
Blair asked we did not use his last name for this story. He's among a group of Chatham County residents who want probation officer Ronald Kevin Stone removed from his job.
Their group in particular has been photographed marching with white supremacist and racist organizations.
Blair says the probation officer is also part of the North Carolina chapter of the Sons of Confederate Veterans. On the group's website, a Kevin Stone is listed as a commander. The concerned residents say these are pictures of Stone at group events. They were included in a letter to the Department of Public Safety. Blair says it makes Stone unfit to serve as a probation officer.
And obviously you have the fates of people, many of whom are people of color, or not, over whether they go free or not.
He wants to see Stone removed or reassigned, and more.
The other part of the letter that we asked for was that they also review some of the cases that Mr. Stone has been involved with for signs of bias.
I reached Stone on the phone. He declined to comment and referred me to the Department of Public Safety Community Corrections. In a statement, the director, Tracy Lee, says, "We take these allegations very seriously. Community Corrections is looking into the matter and will take actions deemed most appropriate."
And Gerald, a spokesperson with DPS here, tells me that Stone is still in his position, still on the job.
And don't miss the fun and excitement of Wake Forest's annual Christmas Parade, featuring over 100 colorful floats, bands, and of course, Santa Claus.
Let's get this parade started, guys. You have great timing already, Kim. Look at that. There it is. There's the Wake Forest Police Department, as usual, starting the parade. Thank you, Wake Forest. Merry Christmas. All right, and there are folks from the Wake Forest Downtown Incorporated. They're a dedicated group of volunteers committed to enhancing and maintaining the charm and vibrancy of Wake Forest Historic District. And then they're followed by the Sons of the Confederate Veterans, 47th Regiment, NC Troop Camp 166. And they're organized out of Richmond, Virginia. They continue to serve as a historical, patriotic, and non-political organization dedicated to ensuring that a true history is preserved.
Yeah. Next, we have the Jones Dairy Elementary Color Guard.
Next up, we have Sons of Confederate Veterans, the 47th Regiment, NC Troops, Camp 166. Today's Sons of Confederate Veterans is preserving the history and legacy of the citizen soldiers who fought for the Confederacy so that the future generations can understand the motives which animated the Southern cause. The SCV is direct heir of the United Confederate Veterans and the oldest hereditary organization for male descendants of Confederate soldiers.
Last week, the university announced the latest plan, which is a $2.5 million deal with a pro-Confederacy group. Students today said that's not an acceptable solution either.
Stand up, fight back!
Anger and disbelief were the dominant emotions today.
What do we do? Stand up, fight back!
About 200 protesters called on alumni to stop giving money to UNC and to push for an investigation into the $2.5 million deal they're calling Silent Sham. Student Tamia Sanders was one of the organizers.
The university should not be continuing to negotiate with white supremacists, continuing to be complicit in white supremacy and fund them and give them power to do whatever they want.
UNC professor William Sturkey said the school is basically giving the Sons of Confederate Veterans a new state headquarters building to enshrine the statue. Sturkey wrote a column for the New York Times Wednesday calling the the deal, quote, a subsidy for white nationalism.
In many cases, as the monuments were dedicated, they said this is for white supremacy. And so groups that echo these messages are pretty clearly white nationalist groups.
The state leader of the Sons of Confederate Veterans is Kevin Stone, seen here posing with Silent Sam. He's a state probation officer in Chatham County. We asked Stone about the accusation that the Sons of Confederate Veterans is a white supremacist group. His response was, quote, no comment.